Have you ever looked into her eyes and felt like something was off, but couldn't explain it? Maybe she smiled the right way, said the right words, even made you feel like a king, but deep inside your gut was whispering, something's not right. What if that whisper wasn't paranoia, but wisdom knocking? If you've ever questioned the intent of a woman in your life, whether she's a friend, lover, coworker, or even a family member, this video could change everything. Before we dive in, take a second to subscribe to Stoic World and like this video, because understanding the dark side of human nature through the lens of Stoic wisdom can protect you not just emotionally, but spiritually. Stick with me till the end, because the final sign, though often ignored, can completely unravel your love life if you miss it. Now let's set the stage with some context through a name you might know very well, Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who saw through people. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, ruled the Roman Empire at its peak. He commanded armies, administered justice, and wrote down his meditations not for glory, but as a reminder to himself to remain grounded, wise, and resilient in a world full of deception. In his reflections, he warned of people who wear masks, those who drain your soul, manipulate your emotions, and cloak themselves in kindness while harboring venom. He didn't talk specifically about evil women, but he talked about evil human behavior, and how the wise man should recognize it, distance from it, and never let it poison his inner peace. So let's blend his timeless wisdom with modern reality and expose 7 evident signs that there is an evil woman next to you. 1. She weaponizes your vulnerabilities. The softest betrayal. Have you ever fallen in love so deeply that you told her everything? I mean everything. Your childhood fears, the heartbreak you never told anyone about, that one moment you still regret, when you felt like a failure. Maybe a moment that still haunts you when the world goes quiet. Now think about her. Think about how safe she made you feel when you first opened up. The way she held your hand, looked into your eyes and said, "I'll never hurt you." You believed her, didn't you? Because when love enters your life, it disarms you. It makes you soft. And that's not weakness, that's human. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, wrote in his meditations that we must be cautious of those who smile with their mouths but carry daggers in their hearts. And that, my friend, is what some women do with precision. She didn't attack you with fists. She didn't even raise her voice. She did something worse. She waited until you were emotionally naked, until you handed her the keys to your deepest self. Then one day, during an argument, maybe something trivial, like forgetting a date or saying something the wrong way, she brought up that very thing you told her in trust. No wonder your father left. That's why you'll never succeed. You always need saving, just like you did back then. And suddenly, the safe space you built with her, the place where you thought your wounds would be cradled, is now the battlefield where she's aiming directly at your heart. That's not love. That's emotional warfare. Take a second. Close your eyes and recall that moment. Maybe it happened once. Maybe it's happened so often you've grown numb to it. But why does it hurt so much? Because it feels like betrayal by the very person you thought would guard your soul. Marcus Aurelius didn't have Instagram or relationship coaches, but he understood people. He wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." So here's your wake-up call, not for revenge, but for awareness. Because if she turns your vulnerability into a weapon, if she throws your truth back at you to gain the upper hand, then she's not fighting fair, she's fighting to dominate, not love.
Let me ask you again.
Have you ever been loved like that? Where your story was used against you? Comment below if this hit home. Because trust me, you're not alone. Thousands of people have been in your shoes. Men who thought they were broken, when in reality they were just being emotionally ambushed. Stay with me, because this is just the first sign. The next ones are even darker. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll not only recognize the evil, you'll know exactly how to rise above it, Stoic style. 2. Her kindness has strings attached. The trap of conditional love. Have you ever had a woman do everything for you? She bought you gifts. She surprised you with food. She even told you, "No one will ever love you like I do." At first it felt like a dream, didn't it? You probably thought, this is what love is supposed to feel like. Effort, attention, generosity. But let me take you back to a moment that might still sit in your chest. Do you remember the first time she threw it back in your face? Maybe it was a heated moment. You disagreed. You asked for space. And then came the storm. "After everything I've done for you?" I gave you my time, my money, my heart, and this is how you treat me. You stood there confused. Wasn't it love? Weren't those gifts acts of kindness? Then why did they come with a receipt? Marcus Aurelius warned us in Meditations to beware of people who give not from virtue, but from manipulation, those who appear generous, but keep score in the shadows. The truth is, my friend, you weren't being loved. You were being bought. You were being owned. And deep down you felt it, because real love gives freely. It says, here's my heart, no debt, no conditions, no strings. But what she offered was different. It looked like love. It tasted like love. But it was a trap. Let me ask you, have you ever held back your needs because you feared she'd say, I did all this for you and you still want more? Have you ever felt guilty for asking for something simple because she's done so much? That's not love. That's emotional extortion. That's not kindness. That's currency. You were never allowed to just exist. You had to perform, to repay, to please. You became a servant in a relationship that was disguised as partnership. Marcus Aurelius believed that true goodness is silent. It doesn't boast. It doesn't demand repayment. It gives because that's what virtue does. But this woman, she gives you a rose with one hand and holds a leash with the other. So let me bring it back to you. Have you ever felt that unspoken pressure? That invisible contract where every nice thing she did came with a price? If so, you are not crazy. You were being conditioned. You were led to believe that love is something you must repay, not something you simply receive. Comment below if this sounds familiar, because too many good men have fallen into the trap of conditional love, and they only realize it once their identity is buried under guilt. But not you, not anymore. You're waking up, and this is only the second sign. Stick around, because the next one, it will hit even harder, especially if your life has become louder and more chaotic since she arrived. She thrives in chaos, but you keep calling it passion. Do you remember the first time she made your heart race, not with love, but with fear? Not the kind of fear that makes you run, but the kind that makes you freeze. That silent tension in the room, the slamming of a door, the shift in her tone, and suddenly you're walking on eggshells. But you didn't leave. You didn't even question it, because right after the storm, she made love to you like you were her entire world. She kissed your forehead, whispered apologies, told you you're the only one who understands her, and you told yourself this must be passion. You thought, love is messy, right? It's not perfect. She's just intense. She's just emotional. Maybe that's what makes this love real, raw, alive. But here's the hard truth you didn't want to hear. Chaos is not passion, and pain is not proof of love, Marcus Aurelius, in his writings said, the nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. But she dragged you away from your calm. Every day was unpredictable. Every week felt like emotional roulette. One day she adored you. The next, you were her enemy. And somehow, you always ended up apologizing for things you never even did. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever canceled plans with friends just to avoid another one of her breakdowns? Have you avoided saying no just to prevent another emotional outburst? That's not passion, brother. That's psychological conditioning. You see, some women don't feel alive unless they're in crisis. And when things are peaceful, they create storms because in stillness they lose control. So they scream, they provoke, they twist stories. And the worst part? They make you feel like you're the problem. They'll say, you've changed. You don't love me like before. You don't fight for me. But what they really mean is, why aren't you addicted to the chaos anymore? My friend, think back. When was the last time you had a week of peace? When was the last time you felt safe in your own skin? If her love feels like a battlefield, it's not love. It's emotional terrorism. You don't need explosions to feel intensity. You don't need drama to prove devotion. You need peace. You need stillness. You need you. Marcus Aurelius would remind you, if it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. But she twisted even that, didn't she? She made you doubt your right to peace, and slowly you forgot what silence sounded like, what love without drama felt like. If this is hitting home, drop a comment below, because if your relationship feels like a roller coaster and you're always holding your breath, it's not love, it's survival. And you weren't born to just survive, you were meant to live. Stay with me, because the fourth sign, it reveals how she isolates you. not just from others but from yourself. First, she slowly cuts you off and until you have no one but her. When was the last time you called your best friend without her asking, "Why are you talking to him so much?" When was the last time you visited your family without hearing, "You always put them before me"? Or maybe you haven't even noticed that your world has become smaller, bit by bit, conversation by conversation. Now pause. Think back to before she came into your life. You had people, your brother, your boys from college, your coworkers who made you laugh during breaks, maybe even your mom who called just to check in. And then she entered. Beautiful, intense, loving. You fell hard. At first it was flattering. "I just want to be with you all the time. No one gets me like you do. They don't really care about you the way I do." You thought, maybe she's right. Maybe your friends didn't understand you the way she did. Maybe your family was too judgmental. So you stopped reaching out. You became hers. But here's the painful truth. She didn't want to be part of your world. She wanted to be your entire world. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And slowly, under her influence, your world became darker, lonelier, quieter. It didn't happen all at once. She didn't say, "Cut them off." She just made it uncomfortable to keep them around. Your friends are a bad influence. Your sister is jealous of us. "Why do you need anyone else when you have me?" She disguised control as devotion. And what's worse, when you needed someone the most, during a fight with her, during moments of doubt, you realized you had no one left to call. She had done it. Isolated you like a predator separates its prey from the pack. And you thinking it was love led her. Let me ask you something raw.
Have you ever sat in a room full of people and still felt alone?
Because the one person who used to ground you now controls you? If so, I want you to hear this. It's not your fault. Evil rarely arrives with horns. It comes as charm, attention, and love bombs. But over time, it strips you of everyone who ever reminded you who you were. That's not love. That's imprisonment. Marcus Aurelius believed in freedom of the soul. And yet here you are, a prisoner in a palace she built just for you, gold-plated with fake love. If this story feels familiar, drop a comment. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You were just caught in a web designed to isolate and control you. But you're here now. You're seeing it. You're waking up. Stay with me, because the fifth sign, it's the one that steals your confidence and replaces it with shame. 5. She destroys your confidence and calls it honesty. Do you remember who you were before her? Not just your name or job, but the feeling of being you. You used to laugh louder. You used to walk into rooms with your head high. You used to believe you were enough. And then she came. Beautiful, mysterious, sharp-tongued and sugar-sweet. She looked at you like you were her king. But slowly, subtly, the compliments turned into corrections. At first it was small. "You look nice, but I think that shirt makes you look bulky." You shrugged it off. She was just being honest, right? Then came the comparisons. "Why can't you be more ambitious like my ex?" "You're too sensitive. Real men don't get emotional." Suddenly you began questioning yourself. You started second-guessing your words. You looked in the mirror and saw flaws that were never there before. You stopped sharing your dreams. Because she always had a reason why they wouldn't work. But here's the truth you were too afraid to admit. She wasn't being honest. She was being cruel. Marcus Aurelius warned us. The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know the truth. But you gave her opinion more power than your own. Why? Because she claimed it came from love. But love doesn't humiliate. Love doesn't disguise criticism as caring. Love doesn't shrink you just to feel taller. So let me ask you something brave. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, "I'm not good enough for her"? When just months before meeting her, you knew you were more than enough. Have you ever tried to improve yourself, not for growth, but for approval? Not because you wanted to, but because you feared she'd stop loving you if you didn't? That's not self-improvement. That's emotional blackmail. She didn't want you confident, because a confident man can't be controlled. She chipped away at your self-worth, not to build you up, but to make sure you stayed small, scared and dependent on her validation. It's a slow poison, isn't it? And the worst part? You start doing the work for her. You silence yourself. You walk on eggshells. You let your voice shake, just so hers doesn't rise. And yet, no matter how hard you try, it's never enough. But here's what Marcus Aurelius would remind you. If you are pained by any external thing, It is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. And your judgment has been poisoned, not by truth, but by the lies of someone who needed to break you to feel powerful. But now you see it. You remember who you were. Comment below if she ever made you doubt your worth. Because this isn't just your story, it's the silent story of thousands of strong men turned quiet by one woman's tongue. But it doesn't have to end that way. Stick with me. The sixth sign? It's where her charm becomes a weapon. Not just on you, but on everyone else. 6, she plays the victim, but you're the one bleeding. Have you ever sat in front of people, listening to her tell a story about your relationship, and you wondered, is that really how it happened? She cried. She told your friends how you changed, how she tried everything, how you became distant, cold, selfish, and everyone believed her because she cried with trembling lips. She looked so fragile, so heartbroken, so innocent. But you sat there quietly, confused, shocked, doubting your own memory. Let me ask you again. Have you ever been made to feel like the villain in your own love story? You see, the evilest people don't always wear a mask of anger. Sometimes they wear the face of a victim, and no one questions the one who cries the loudest. You remember the arguments, right? You raised your voice after she pushed your buttons all day, and suddenly she's in tears running out saying, "I'm scared of you." But she's not scared of you. She's scared that you're finally seeing her. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." But it's hard, isn't it? When you're being accused of what she is actually doing. When she cheats but claims you were distant. When she lies but tells others you're the manipulator. You became the one apologizing again. You stayed up at night wondering, am I really the problem? Let me ask you something personal. Has she ever done something cruel and then convinced you that you caused it? If you hadn't said that, you know I have anxiety, why would you act that way? You made me react like this. That, my friend, is not a woman in pain. That is a woman using pain as a performance. She plays the victim, so she never has to take accountability. And slowly, people around you believe her version of the story. Because she tells it first, she tells it louder, and she tells it with tears, but you're the one walking around with invisible scars. She made herself look broken, while you were the one being shattered. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "To understand the true quality of people, you must look into their minds and examine their pursuits and avoidances. And when you look closely, you'll see she avoids truth, she avoids blame, she avoids healing. Because healing would mean admitting the damage she's caused." If this feels familiar, if you've been cast as the villain while silently bleeding behind closed doors, you're not alone. Comment below if she ever made you feel like the monster, while she walked away looking like the martyr. Stay with me, because the seventh and final sign, it's when she starts playing games with your very soul, and you begin to question whether you're even lovable at all. 7. She makes you feel unlovable, and you start to believe it. Have you ever sat in silence asking yourself, what is so wrong with me that she stopped loving me? Not screamed, not cried, just sat quietly, staring at the wall, replaying everything, trying to figure out what you did that made her change. Because she did change, didn't she? In the beginning, she couldn't stop texting you. Her eyes sparkled when she saw you. She said things like, "You're everything I ever wanted, and I can't imagine my life without you." And you believed her, why wouldn't you? She made you feel chosen. But over time, the sparkle turned into eye rolls. The compliments faded into, "You're just not trying hard enough." The love turned cold and the silence became a punishment. Let me ask you this, friend. Have you ever been in love with someone who made you feel unworthy of love? That no matter how hard you tried, how much you gave, how patient, kind, or forgiving you were, it still wasn't enough? She stopped hugging you like before, stopped texting back with excitement, stopped asking about your dreams, but when you brought it up, she flipped the script. Maybe you're just too needy. You always want attention. Real men don't act like this. You started to shrink, you laughed less, shared less. You stopped showing parts of yourself because she no longer saw the beauty in them. And eventually, you asked the scariest question of all, am I just hard to love? Marcus Aurelius once said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." But when someone poisons your mind, they can make you believe that even your light is a burden. And that's what she did. She didn't just hurt you, she reprogrammed you. You started apologizing for being emotional. You questioned your worth when she pulled away. You blamed yourself for her mood swings, for her cheating, for her distance. She made you believe you were the problem, when all along, she was the one pouring poison into the well. Let me say something from one soul to another. You are not unlovable. You were simply trying to love someone, incapable of love, someone who only felt powerful by making others feel small, someone who used affection as a tool and withdrawal as a punishment, someone who didn't want a partner. They wanted a servant to their ego. But here's the beautiful truth Marcus would remind you of. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. So let this be your strength. The fact that you're here watching, listening, healing. Comment below if you've ever questioned your worth because of someone else's cold heart. You're not alone, and this is not where your story ends. You are not hard to love. You were just deeply misunderstood, so now you know. These are not just red flags. They are evident signs that you are dealing with a woman whose nature is not to love, but to dominate, to consume, and to destroy. And if you recognize even a few of these signs, you must act not with hatred, not with revenge, but with clarity, detachment, and resolve. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. You don't have to pretend to be hurt. You are not your emotions. You decide. Your love life is sacred. Your mind is sacred. Guard them both with stoic strength. And with that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.